to another episode of Business Unleashed, a Plano Chamber podcast. Today we're diving deep into the world of cybersecurity with a special guest. Joining us is Bob Kehr, CTO and owner of Kehr Technologies, a leading expert in IT services and solutions. In this episode, we'll explore the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, uncovering common threats businesses face, and discussing best practices to safeguard your organization's digital assets. Plus, we'll introduce the Plano Chamber's new cybersecurity guide and checklist. We'll also discover how it can empower businesses to navigate the complex cybersecurity landscape with confidence. Without further ado, let's jump into our conversation with Bob Kehr.
My name is Heather Vogman. I serve as our Director of Development here at the Plano Chamber, and I'm very excited. We have a great guest today. I want to introduce to you Bob Kehr. So Bob Kehr is the CTO and owner of Kehr Technologies. He also currently sits on our Plano Chamber Board of Directors. He does all the things, has done all the things, knows all the people. But we're excited to have Bob on the podcast, and we're going to talk a bit more about a new partnership, a new resource that we're giving our folks here at the Plano Chamber. But first, Bob, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Just let everyone know who you are and what it is that you do at Kehr Technologies.
Great. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I am the CTO and owner, which means Chief Technical Officer at Kehr Technologies. We are a managed services IT provider. That means we help businesses with anything IT. Most of our clients, we provide everything IT. It's including things like virtual CIO. We meet regularly with our clients, and we go through their business needs. What are their plans for the coming year? How are we going to solve their problems? What issues are they having today that we may be not aware of? And I think that it makes a big difference for them so that we are proactively taking care of their business rather than reactively. And it gives them a way to really have a full set of IT services without having to hire staff. I think that makes a big difference. Love being part of the community, being part of the Plano community, the business community. It's a big part of who we are. We really care about our customers and our community, and I think that's a big differentiator for us. People know that when they call. Our clients know us by voice, and we know them by voice. And it's a great way to provide a great service.
That's huge. And I would agree. And so living in Plano, I do see the Kehr Technologies van out and about. So I always think of you, which is the fun part of our job here, is we know the face behind the business name. So we can back Bob up. He does all the things he says he does. Like I mentioned, so Bob and Kehr Technologies are joining us as a partner and a sponsor for our brand new resource. So we will be launching here shortly in pieces our cybersecurity resource guide for our small businesses here at the Plano Chamber. And Bob was very on board the very first time we met about it, very excited about the three folks that we have helping us with this project. But Bob, I would love, as you mentioned, what services you guys provide at Kehr Technologies, if you could give our listeners a bit more of your background and your experience in the field as it comes to cybersecurity.
You bet. I started my career as an engineer where I designed hardware and software for one-of-a-kind black projects. In those days, systems were not openly connected, and our system was explicitly blocked from the outside world. And so cybersecurity from that perspective wasn't that big of a deal. But when I started my own IT managed service business in 2005, things were different. There were several ways for bad actors to hurt a business, but for the most part, protection revolved around an antivirus, and threats were either targeted or just poorly done, or as if you were an unknown or small business, then you were sort of a little bit protected because of that. Mm-hmm. All that has changed. Since that time, computers and networking have advanced tremendously. There are things like bots and computer farms, and that means that if you have an internet connection, that you are a target. Mm-hmm. With automation, it doesn't incrementally cost anything more to attack a one-person business running out of their house. And so that means you are a target. With that, we started working with a lot of the cybersecurity specialists and vendors out there. We want to make sure that we understand the threat landscape, and we want to make sure that we have the solutions that are available to address those threats.
That's huge. That's really important. I think, especially now starting this project, I've been a bit more aware of the news breaks that come and those folks that have been victims, unfortunately, of those cybersecurity threats. So it is a timely discussion, timely resource for hopefully giving folks. So that is helpful to know that you've got some experience, some extensive experience in that field. Speaking of those prevalent threats, so when you think of those small businesses, maybe those one-person shops, what are some of the most prevalent cybersecurity threats that you guys are seeing today?
I've got a list. It's not comprehensive, but it is addressing some of the more prevalent ones. Email is by far the most frequent way that hackers get into a business. The sophistication of email has increased exponentially. Mm-hmm. There is a real effort to make an email look like a legitimate sender. In the past, maybe not so much, but now it is really challenging. Threat actors are also using more social engineering to create their threats. And so it looks more targeted, it looks more inviting for you, and it's more encouraging for you to click on a link or to open a document. Mm-hmm. And this can result in the downloading of a ransomware or inadvertently providing your credentials to one of these bad guys. I want to note that if you are getting a targeted phishing email, it's going to be even more realistic. The general ones that are out there going to everybody, they look mm-hmm. really good. If it's targeted for you, if they're going after you, then it'll be very much realistic looking. So it's important to understand the warning signs and how to check an email before you take any action with it. Mm-hmm. I will also say that ransomware and data extraction is one of the biggest economic impacts on a business. As you know, ransomware can actually shut down your computers, make them unworkable. Mm-hmm. And it can also make your data unusable or inaccessible. And data extraction, meaning they can take information about your customers or your employees and do something with that. It's personally identifiable information. They can be leaked on the dark web, and the ramifications of that are very wide-ranging. And one other that we've seen a lot is wire fraud or other means of tricking people into transferring money. That's been big. And the interesting thing about it, it's done without requiring you to do a download or give it up any credentials. It's all done with a sleight of hand, if you will. It's accomplished mostly through email, text, and even phone calls. And it's an incentive for an employee to take action because they think the boss is asking them to do something. Mm-hmm. And that fraud is actually impacting businesses of all sizes.
Yeah, I laugh a bit at the last example. There's someone that thinks that they're Kelly Marsalis that tries to email our staff always. So we, as as a small nonprofit organization, see those threats often. And I think it's almost something to be said it's helpful to educate the workforce on it, because it's no longer something where they're, kind of targeting the older generation, if you will, right? Like there's no shame in the fact that you might have fallen for it, because like you're saying, the bad guys, if you will, have gotten smarter. So we see it all often too. And we've had a bit of like a cautionary tale, if you will, of a chamber that had out-of-state chamber that was a victim of an attack, and they actually, did not have the money, obviously, to pay the ransom, but they then had to completely redo their IT system. And I just can't imagine the headache and the cost. So it is real. It is definitely out there. Kind of on the trend, I would say, as far as education and what we're wanting to do with this resource guide, what are some cybersecurity best practices that businesses should really prioritize to protect themselves from these cybersecurity threats?
When it comes to protecting your business, there's actually some steps that do involve technology, but there are some steps that revolve around policies, procedures, and simple training, like you were just talking about. Mm-hmm. First step is identifying your critical processes and your critical data. It's important you understand where the data is, where it lives, and how you use it so you can protect it the right way. I would say this is one of the most frequent issues we run into with new clients is they don't know and they haven't really thought about it. Now's a good time to figure it out before something happens. Develop a business continuity and disaster recovery plan. And what that plan does is it describes how are you going to stay in business if something happens, whether it's a ransomware or somebody has dropped their computer and it's broken, or something like a physical disaster like a fire. If you've identified that ahead of time, you have a plan, you know how long it'll take to recover, then getting through it and keeping your business operational will be a lot more realistic. I would say make use of technology to establish layers of protection. This includes things like next generation antivirus, also known as endpoint detection and response, and enhanced email security. But there are some other additional layers that can be applied if it's what makes sense for your business. Again, that's important that you understand, again, how your processes work, how you do your business, so you're protecting those parts. Absolutely enforce two-factor authentication on everything. It doesn't completely eliminate hacking, but it has the ability to stop most attacks. So please do that. Create policies around acceptable use, particularly on company devices. That could be as simple as you're not allowed to access Facebook on your company device. Also develop procedures around requiring an email and a voice discussion before moving any money around. So if everyone understands it, they know there's two methods of communicating that, then the likelihood of you losing money is dropped tremendously. And also periodically spend a few minutes with your staff reviewing a phishing email. Then you can really drive home how important security is. They can see that it's happening. They can then look at it with you, and you can determine what makes it a phishing email and what are some of the warning signs. This is a great way for them to understand how devastating a phishing email could be to your business and to their job.
Very true. All good things. I'm shaking my head because I'm like, yep, we need to do this. And there's some things we've implemented as a staff. We, in my role at the chamber, I'm kind of the one that gets to follow up on money and investment. So I get all sorts of weird emails every once in a while that look like an invoice or some sort of payment. And so all of these tips and tricks, I'm just remembering to not put my guard down, if you will, as I'm looking through those emails. Great advice for our folks. Kind of moving along into that same, best practices or more of what you're seeing too. Obviously, cybersecurity has evolved and will continue to evolve. And then you have things like AI that I'm sure will kind of, again, have us relearn what's going on in the world of cybersecurity. But what are maybe some emerging trends that you think our small businesses should be aware of?
You really touch on something that's important. The threat to businesses have grown tremendously, especially over the last decade, I would say. Everyone is at risk, regardless of your size. And I think that's something I really like your listeners to get through to them is you are at risk. And automation has really enabled these threat actors to indiscriminately go after everyone. AI, great example. It's a great way of really learning what's working, what isn't working. And then again, because of the low cost of going after everyone, you're at risk. Also, cyber attacks for big business. There are actually job postings on the dark web for hackers. You can go out and look for a job as a hacker. Wow. It is now possible to contract ransomware as a service, and you can target a specific business. And the bad guys will actually share any revenue they get with the person who's contracted with them. Pretty scary.
That's very scary.
You can also hire somebody to attack somebody's website for $200. I mean, it's not even expensive. Whew. And again, I just want to highlight this means that cyber is a real threat to every business.
Yeah, I mean, like you're mentioning, it doesn't matter what size. at this day and age, most of our businesses have a website. So if they've
Yeah.
got something that lives online, they've got, themselves in a situation where it could be a possible threat. You touched on this a bit before, and I'm wondering too if you could maybe elaborate on some examples that maybe you all have seen at Kehr Technologies, or even it might be things that you all offer, but also in the context of even like a point of sale type of attack. So when you think of, like you mentioned, some of that cybersecurity preparation may also come in the role and service of technology. So can you give a bit more insight into the role of technology and how you can use that in cybersecurity, and how businesses can leverage either their existing technology or just how they can enhance their existing technology to ensure, again, that they're prepared if there is an attack?
Absolutely. One thing I want to point out is that, threat technology has improved, but so has security technology. But you really need to strike a balance between productivity and security. You can spend a tremendous amount of money on security, and you can lock your computers down and your network down to the point where your business can't function. And you can protect your business right out of business. And so I think it's important that you weigh all those things, that you can go back to how you do your business, so that you can know what to protect and how to do it in a way that's effective, and that, employees will follow the rules and things like that. Layers is what's really important. If somebody, for example, let's go back to email. If there's a link in there, and if you inadvertently clicked on a link, there are security measures in place that will prevent you from going to a known bad website. So that's one layer. First layer is, of course, education. Second layer is preventing you from going to the bad place. Another layer is that there's a software, or maybe two, running on your computer that will prevent anything from actually executing if you get it. And then finally, I think having access to a security operations center, particularly a 24/7 center, is going to be important, and that's available as well. That's a service we provide. So if you're working on your computer a Sunday morning at 2 a.m. and you end up in a bad situation, someone can actually take action on your computer and prevent it from doing something really nefarious. And then we can take further action, clean it up, et cetera, on Monday, as an example. So the things that we offer are email security, endpoint detection that we talked about, managed SOC, the filtering, password management. That's something that people don't necessarily think about. We offer a password manager so that it's all protected in a encrypted cloud. It's available when you go to if you upgrade your device, all of your passwords are there, all of your links are there, and they're protected. You can generate a very complex 32-character password and never have to remember it because it's stored in the cloud for you. Those are some things that I think can simplify your life while adding a lot of security. So things like that, I think, are the things that really need to be part of a discussion within your organization, and perhaps with an outside entity as well, to understand really the best way to protect yourself.
I like that. I'm going to remember the layers aspect of it for certain. Like, I think it's a cool side that we get to be on, as far as, us getting to create that cybersecurity checklist and guide. Like you're saying, you're the customer, you're the employee, so you're kind of that first line of defense, and so you can control as much as you control there, and then you've got layers and layers of protection or technology, and also that password management just sounds like the greatest gift. That's the amount of times that we're all sharing some sort of something, or we're trying to get work done, and that, you think about that too, that's taking away efficiency, and that's taking away that.
Are you a business owner in the DFW area looking for reliable IT support? Look no further than Kehr Technologies. Based right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, Kehr specializes in cybersecurity, IT support, and managed services to keep your business running smoothly. At Kehr Technologies, they take a proactive approach to IT, ensuring your systems are secure and your operations run seamlessly. What sets them apart? They're not your typical tech company. Kehr's team speaks your language, offering friendly, down-to-earth support that's easy to understand. Best of all, there are no long-term contracts. Kehr Technology makes it simple to get the IT help you need without any hassle. Give them a call at 214-444-3583 or visit their website at kehrtech.com to learn more. Your business deserves the best IT support, and with Kehr Technologies, you're in good hands.
Time is a bit more of money when it comes to trying to get projects done here. So it's a huge resource. I love that you guys do that for your customers. Back on to Bob. I know at the beginning of this episode, we let our listeners know about our new cybersecurity guide. So you were actually one of the very first of our members that I actually sat down and kind of talked to you about this idea we had as a chamber. But I'd love to hear more from you about, the motivation for wanting to be a part of this project, why it's so important right now for our small businesses, and what resources do you think it's going to be able to offer?
As we've been discussing, the threat is growing and it's looming over all businesses. We really feel that it's important that businesses and business owners understand the threat and that they have practical and affordable steps that they can take to address them. Mm-hmm. And I think this guide does that. It includes a security checklist that you just mentioned, and it's written in plain English. And it gives business owners a concrete set of steps they can take to protect them. It also provides some education around the hazards that we've been discussing so they can be more informed about it and can inform their own staff about it. And it also outlines the ever-changing trends, again, to be educated and informed and to be forward-looking. Also written in plain English, and it has some real-world examples. So I think as a business owner, you can take a look at this and say, these are the steps these make sense to me. I can take these steps. I don't have to devote a lot of resources, whether that's money or time, yet I can still improve my attack surface tremendously just by doing a few things. And this is a free resource. And so there's really no risk to take a look at it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I should say it will definitely be a free resource available to our members, and the checklist that has been, put in place with our partners over at the University of Texas at Dallas and our other partner, Flare Data Systems. I almost envision that being something that our members can just print out, or we'll have those copies for them, and they can just give them to, new employees, current employees, something they can stick right behind their computers so that they have it. It's, like you said, very easy to read, very easy to understand for somebody like myself that is not very technical and would not understand all of the big cybersecurity words. So it is exciting. A bit of a follow-up on that question. Why do you think it was an important resource for someone like what our role is as the chamber? Why do you think that that's important for us to offer to our members?
Being successful at business is a lot about what the chamber is. It's connecting people. It's making sure they have the resources in order to operate. It also includes things like, IT and cybersecurity so that they can stay in business and protect themselves and protect their clients. And that's why I really think it's an important resource to come from the chamber. We've been talking about that, it's important that as a business, you recognize this is a real problem for you. Mm-hmm. But it's, where do you start? And I think that's why it's a great resource. It shows you exactly where to start. It's no longer overwhelming. The number of steps are not that large, and they're easy to understand. And it's just a great way to get going. Also, what I like about it is you can seek help from an outside entity to do an assessment. UTD is offering this risk assessment, and they'll provide a document that outlines where your risks are and even provide some mitigating steps you can take to reduce that risk. I think that's great.
Yes, we're excited that our partners at UTD, they have one of their professors, staff members, but they have a class that they do every semester around cybersecurity, and a special kind of project final exam, if you will, is asking those students to do exactly what Bob said. So a free risk assessment to a local small business. They present those findings back to their class. Obviously, it can stay anonymous. It's not like a gotcha if you will. It's a good experience. You're giving back to the community and the next generation by allowing those students to come in and just show you what they've learned, but also give you a free risk assessment. And that's of great value when you think of, obviously, there's a reason that folks like Bob exist, like our friends at Flare Data and UTD, their outside partners exist because people pay for these types of services, right? So it is a very cool opportunity. We're excited that that's the additional piece on top, if you will, from our folks at UTD. So we're looking forward to that as well, getting our members involved there. I know we briefly touched on, like, what ways our folks can bring in that cybersecurity guide to their business. When you think about our small businesses, medium-sized businesses, how can our members actually foster a culture of security awareness among their employees?
First of all, make security one of your core values and then speak about it constantly. As I mentioned before, whenever someone gets a phishing email, review it with the staff, the whole team, so they understand that you are targeted, and it gives you an opportunity to point out ways to determine it's phishing. Develop a procedure around funds transfer, like we discussed earlier. Share the guide with all the staff. Like you said, print it out, put it on the wall, send it to them in an email. Talk about it regularly. Revisit your policies and procedures regularly, perhaps every 6 months. And also have UTD come out and do a risk assessment. I think that's a very strong signal that it's important to you and your organization that everyone takes security seriously.
I love that. And again, I think we almost make it more complicated than it should be. So hopefully this resource, comes from trusted folks in our community and in our chamber that will, meet our folks where they're at, explain all of the different, our hope is that we've got, like we mentioned, a checklist that can be easily dispersed throughout your organizations to your employees, as well as more of like a beefed up guide, if you will. So that would probably be a better resource for even, you think, like your leaders, your managers, your frontline managers, whatever type of business you're in, that maybe just really want to hone in and better understand what to look for so that they can help guide their employees. So again, everybody's on that same page of a culture of, this is something we take seriously. This is something we know is a threat to our business. So I'm excited for those different aspects to kind of come to fruition. And even some new news actually for Bob. So we're finishing up on our website where the landing page will be for our cybersecurity guide. So when this episode is out and the rest of our membership hears it, they'll be able to find these pieces that we're talking about at our newly revamped website as well. So you'll be able to find the cybersecurity guide and checklists and ways to get in contact with our folks at UTD, Kehr Technologies, and Flare Data. And that'll be at planochamber.org/cybersecurity. So we're excited to get that out and about into the world. But I'd love to, as we wrap up, if Bob, you could even on outside of the world of cybersecurity and what you guys do, I'd love for you to maybe talk a bit more about, maybe share more, I should say, about you're wonderful at giving back and being out and about in the community, but you're also running a business. And I think that is something that a lot of our members that are maybe new to owning their business aspire to. So do you maybe have some lasting thoughts or advice on, why you think it's important to be involved here in the community, and just even ways that you've seen it actually impact your business to encourage our folks as they finish up listening to this episode?
Part of what I get out of being involved in the community and being in the chamber is there are sometimes there are leads, but it's given me an opportunity to show myself and my organization as a leader out in the world. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to measure the impact on my business around that. Also, being out in the community, I start to understand what else is out there, what other resources are available. In the beginning, when I first started, it was just me and I was doing everything. And at some point in time, I need to start to let go of things. And now I've got a great Rolodex of businesses that are good at what they do and that I trust to do those things on my behalf. And that's a great way to grow my business and to allow me to work on my business instead of in my business. The community also has given us a place to belong, both as a business and as an individual, really belong here. And when you start to see the impact you can have on people's lives, and that's one of the reasons that I started my business. I wanted to impact businesses and people and make them more productive and make them more successful and allow them to be as successful as they can be. And being part of that community, I'm able to connect people, and they can connect me with others. And I think everybody wins in this situation.
I love that. We hear often, especially with our small business folks, that you can't always work in your business and also try to work on your business. So having to figure that out, I'm sure, is very challenging. But I think those that know you, especially our staff, are very thankful for you, and you do so much for the community. So we're excited that we added this to your list, but we're excited that you're able to share your expertise as well. But Bob, I would love for you to let our folks know, like, where can they find out more about you, about what Kehr Technologies does, anything you want to share with them would be perfect.
Great. Yeah. If you can go to our website, it's KEHRTECH.com, kehrtech.com. It's a disadvantage of using your name when it's got an unusual spelling, is you have to spell it out every time. But that's the best place to find out more about us. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook. We're out and about in the community. Please look for us at different networking events, and come by and talk to people at the chamber. They can put you in contact with us as well. We'd love to be a resource and come by and stop and talk with you about, particularly after you've done a review with UTD. I'll be happy to look it over with you, and let's decide the best way to solve any problems that they've identified too.
Awesome. Well, Bob, we appreciate you. We appreciate your support and your leadership that you provide by sitting on our board of directors as well. So we're excited. We'll have more updates as they come, but again, you'll be able to find more information about our cybersecurity guide and our checklist if you go to our website at planochamber.org/cybersecurity. Also make sure that you're following us on all of the socials. So Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram are where we're the most active. So search Plano Chamber of Commerce and make sure it's in Texas, and that's us. We'll be posting snippets of the checklist. We'll be posting, obviously, things like this podcast episode, and we'll continue this conversation likely in the fall with an event. So thank you guys again for joining us on this week's episode of the Business Unleashed Plano Chamber podcast.
Insightful episode of Business Unleashed, a Plano Chamber podcast. A big thank you to our guest, Bob Kehr, for sharing his expertise and insights into cybersecurity. We hope you found this discussion valuable and gained actionable insights to enhance your organization's cybersecurity posture. Don't forget to visit our website at planochamber.org/cybersecurity to check out the Plano Chamber's new cybersecurity checklist and guide coming soon. For additional resources and guidance on protecting your business from cyber threats, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more episodes covering topics essential to Plano's business community. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe and stay empowered in the world of cybersecurity. This is Business Unleashed signing off.